Welcome to the Game Corner, another video game podcast. My name is Harrison. You might know me online as Rorixon, and I am joined, as always, by friend and co-host
Rowan. You might know me as Mocha. I'm back to locals. Life is good. We're playing Pokemon again.
Yeah, I'm excited to ask to talk about your local here in a moment. But aside from that, we missed last week. We're sorry.
We did miss last week. The one that Sheldon and I did together was the week before that, right?
Yes. So,
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
That was historic, honestly.
it was good. I listened to it because that makes sense, and I wasn't a part of it, so I didn't listen to it in real time like normal. Yeah, that was. I can't. I'm mad, but also I don't know how much I care. I think the key point for my take on the 75 limit or whatever is I had that illusion that I could maybe do well enough to get my invite, and now I definitely don't.
Yeah, that's fair. I don't know. I think the conclusion, at least I came to, like 20 minutes in, so I just sounded doomer for anyone who didn't like doomerism was like, man, this guy sucks, and then left, right? The conclusion I came to ultimately was just that, it's still fun, still go to play the game, and ultimately they made the experience a little better if you don't care about worlds, just because of the, like, you only have to play 8 rounds on day 1 and it's easier to make day 2. So I kind of like that. I don't know. It's give and take. I'm still gonna play this game. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think like I'll definitely still play. I think the other thing too, right, is if you are gonna know pretty quickly into this season, which I guess already started, but pretty quickly, into it, you're gonna find out. Yeah, I want to gun for worlds, and I know I can, or you're just not even gonna try, which is fine too, right? Like that's obviously fine. It's just really going to increase the number of casually competitive people.
Yeah,
right.
I think people need to start approaching VGC the way that every other esport is approached. Like I come from fighting game, like at the FGC before this, like no one is thinking about some circuit when they enter Evo. They're thinking about winning Evo. They don't care. Like it isn't like, oh, I got to do at least this well to make sure that I get to enter the next one. It's like, no, you're at a tournament to win the tournament, or at least try to do well at it, right? Like just be in the moment and enjoy it. Yeah. But anyway, I guess that was 2 weeks ago's topic. So
yeah, but I wasn't here, so that's my take. That's my take.
I do appreciate your take on that, and I agree it does suck to have the illusion kind of sucked away.
Yeah, and that's I also, like, I get it. That's all it is. It was ever just an illusion. Like I know I'm not that good, and not only that, I know I don't put enough time into the game. So now I can,
or money for that matter. Even before, you had to spend a lot of money. Like,
yeah, that's true. I'm not going to like every IC that I could to whatever. Anyway, that's fine. How have you been in the last couple weeks?
Work is work, but it's actually picking up. I work in sports and stuff, and football season's coming up. And I'm not going to watch any football, but I got to work for the lead up to it. So yeah, that's been taking up my life, honestly. So I haven't played a lot of games that aren't VGC, but I have been super into VGC recently, and I got to play my first first live event since NAIC. So we had a challenge nearby on the same weekend, last weekend, as this big Victory Road to Honolulu tour. So almost 300 players at that one, like the size of a small regional, effectively. It also had the benefit of making it so that Toller Webb played that instead of coming to the local, so I had a better chance of doing well.
Yeah, that's helpful.
Yeah, but yeah, no. So it's been a pretty good weekend of Pokemon since recently. So yeah, that's pretty much all I've had time for in terms of fun, though. Sure.
Do we want to go ahead and jump into? You want to talk about your local? I want to talk about your local.
Yeah, sure.
You did good.
I got second. It was pretty good. Yeah. So I played a version of Justin Tang's Justin Tang, and I guess Shiliang Tang is the better known player for it, since they got top cut at NAIC with it. Screens AV Ogre, like the most if I didn't 2-0 my opponent, I was the last person playing every round, because it is the most aggressively defensive team, which is kind of an oxymoron, but you got my point. Like, it's,
yes,
you set screens, you burn things, you parting shot things, you intimidate things, you thunder wave things, and then you leech seed things, and only then do you start clicking water spout.
That is
but it's very cool because you're running a speedy Wo-Chien.
Oh, I don't.
Cat's scratching the carpet there. Gotta put the fear of God in him. Yeah, so
I don't actually know that team. What can?
It's very cool. So you have 6 Pokemon technically.
Okay, that's a great start.
But I say technically because 90% of matchups you only bring 4, and the other 2 are just kind of plugging matchups. So like it's the 4 are the main 4 are AV Kyogre, Screens Grimmsnarl, Turbo Incineroar with Wisp, and Speedy Wo-Chien with Pollen Puff. So the idea is you get your screens up, you get your Intimidates down, you get your burns down, you get your parting shots down, and you ultimately want to cripple your opponent and position Kyogre next to Wo-Chien. Because what happens is Wo-Chien reduces physical attackers. Kyogre is already bulky, is all Kricketune on the special side, like base 140, I think, right? And you have all this damage mitigation, and it's a bulky Kyogre to begin with AV, and the Wo-Chien is 1 point faster than the Kyogre. So Kyogre takes any damage, it gets Pollen Puff back up to full, and then it clicks Water Spouts. And you just do that repeatedly. And the Wo-Chien endgames things like crazy, because when you have screens and burns and parting shots, and you click Leech Seed on this very, very bulky Mon that reduces attack by existing.
That's wild. Yeah, I really like that strategy.
And then because it's 1 point faster, you get a really cool combo with Ruination too. So like any Mon that would like give you a lot of trouble, it's like very bulky, you can't take it out in one hit. You are 1 point faster, so Ruination, bring it down to half. Water Spout, Ice Beam, whatever. Like you double tap Amoonguss like that. You can double tap Raging Bolt like that. It's very cool. Like I had a lot of fun with the team. I ultimately I lost in finals to one of the people I beat in Swiss, who had a Calm Mind Terapagos. So it was very and they had Thunder Wave on their Flutter Mane. So we were playing we were just playing roulette. It was miserable. Like we had a turn where with 3 of the 4 Mons on the field got full parried at the same, like one after the other.
Yeah, that's a lot of VGC, I feel, especially when it is like an earlier part of a regulation. You have this like push and pull between really aggressive teams and then slightly less aggressive teams. Yeah. But I really feel like only towards the end of a regulation or
do you get these ultra defensive,
super defensive, super status, super pivot teams that people have played with these toys a lot. They're like, I need something new, and also I thought of this.
And the cool thing about Thunder Wave on a team like this is that with all that damage mitigation I talked about, that's just more and more turns that you're likely to proc a Thunder Wave.
Good point.
One of my friends from the Georgia scene there, Alexa, like we played in semifinals, and I felt so bad. I had set up an endgame to just win off of the Thunder Wave speed drops, and instead she just got like 3 full paras in a row. It's like, I'm sorry, your horse couldn't do anything, hoping it would knock me out, but now we're just gonna play this out. Like you just don't get to move.
That's funny.
Yeah. But ultimately pretty fun tournament. I realized that the regionals coming up are not till September, which means that will be Reg H. So I don't know how much motivation there is for anyone not going to Worlds to play any more G unless you're going to locals, which I might go to one more, but for the most part it's pretty casual at this point. But yeah, really, really fun like entrance back to live events. Whatever you think about the season structure, we're still gonna get to play some Pokemon. So yeah.
I think that's very true, right? And the other thing too, right, with that is VGC and playing Mons is just as much, if not more so, a social event too, right? Especially we have our group who gets together. Everyone, most people have a group that they find, when they go to regionals or locals, especially. So that's pretty cool. I know Florida had a local I think it was also this past weekend.
I'm sure there's a bunch of them now at this point, right? Like you're allowed to as of this month. So the event locator is full.
I just didn't know it was happening, and then saw the Florida VGC Twitch live notification. I was like, I missed the local. Not that I was gonna go anyway. I had plans. But yeah, that's pretty cool. I'm glad to see. I'm glad that despite the feeling, the knee jerk feelings everyone had.
Yeah.
And then the feelings after.
No one's quitting.
No one's quitting. Yeah, I believe that. So.
Yeah. Anyway, so on to Victory Road. This tournament is probably the best prep for anyone, was probably the best prep at the time for anyone getting ready to go to Worlds. And Worlds is sneaking up on us. We're midway through July now. We're past the halfway point, and it's in October, or it's in August, right? So yeah, we're getting pretty close, and so people need to start like. I'm kind of surprised people. It's a rough balance, right? You want to make sure your ideas are working into the field, but you also don't want to give them away, because like anything unique you're doing here is potentially going to like inform your opponents, especially if you're a big name player who does well in this tournament, right? You're gonna kind of give away your sauce early.
Yeah. Very true.
But I think some really cool stuff came out of this. I'd love to talk about it. Second place was probably the coolest, but we can talk about first too. So first of all, congratulations to Federico Camporese, Fede. If you know him, like one of the top European players in the world, one of the top players in the world, period.
Yep.
Yeah, so he won with a team of Calyrex Ice Rider, Rillaboom. They're completely bog standard sets on those. Same with an Ogerpon, Cornerstone, Raging Bolt, Farigiraf, that with Throat Spray, and Shadow Ball, which I think is a really cool combination, because
That is cool.
that was something that was happening early in the format until people realized that Farigiraf is weak enough that if it doesn't have any investment, which most of them don't, that Shadow Ball will not actually OHKO Calyrex Shadow despite being quad effective. So people eventually were like, oh, well, it's immune to Astral and it can do this quad effective move, but it still doesn't OHKO, so there's almost no point. But if you do that with Throat Spray and you get the +1, it will. So that's neat. And then a Sash Urshifu Water, which is picking up in usage. We hadn't seen a whole lot of Sash and Urshifu Water, but now that we're in restricted formats, Sash makes a much bigger difference, so that checks out. Other than the Farigiraf set, I think this is super bog standard, but these mons together generally aren't seen as much, and I like it a lot. Ogerpon Cornerstone is actually really nice into the mirror for Calyrex Ice, because a lot of them are going Terra Fire now to not be burned. And if you do that, then you are suddenly weak to Rock, and there's not a lot of good Rock offense in the meta, so who cares for the most part? But Ogerpon Cornerstone is 100% accurate Ivy Cudgel with a crit rate, so they can't Terra away from that weakness, and you just kind of get blasted. And if they Terra, it's going to be an OHKO too. So yeah, pretty cool thing for the mirror. The one thing I want to point out though is that this team feels really Zamazenta weak, which is traditionally one of Calyrex Ice's main negative matchups. And that's why they usually have some kind of Zama check. We've seen Volcarona, we've seen Chandelure of all things on there. Like, there's nothing here that specifically deals with Zama, and you're pretty much forced to, like, I guess just kind of pray that Raging Bolt plus Urshifu can handle it. And if it's Terra Grass, then good luck.
It's already a rough matchup, so then they just commit to it being a bad matchup.
Yeah, exactly. And from what I heard, Fede did not have to play many Zamazenta throughout the tournament. So I mean, that is a viable strategy, right? Like that is exactly what I did in my Orlando run. Is like I decided, hey, I'm gonna be weak to Archaloot on Rain. That's okay. I don't think there's gonna be many of those. I think that's a harder choice to make in a single restricted format where some portion of people are going to run this high tier restricted, right? But you know, it is what it is. They made that gamble and it paid off for them, and they won $1,000. So you know, it's
kind of a form of min-maxing.
Yeah, exactly. And ultimately, we play Swiss, right? It's not single elim until cut. Yeah. So if you have to drop a couple sets because of that, that's okay.
Exactly 2 now is the correct answer.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Moving down
second
though,
place.
Yeah, I love Mar. I assume you like his team too. Is it Marlox or Marlowe? I feel like it's got to be Marlowe, right?
I would say Marlowe Enriquez, because I don't think that's a Marlox, which I think is what you just said.
Yeah, I think so too. I don't know how to pronounce it, and unfortunately, there was no official stream for this tournament, so I was watching this through Fede's personal stream. So. You know, on a delay and in a different language, so I could not tell.
Okay.
Yeah. So unfortunately, Marlowe did not put up much of a fight in the finals, because we were talking about. Well, let's talk about the team first, and then we can talk about the finals. So very cool. Something. This isn't a concept I was exploring early in the format too. Is a Choice Scarf Kyogre with Terra Water. You do have to go Timid for the Choice Scarf to get you over Calyrex Shadow speed, but you deal with that loss of power by going Terra Water. And then you have Sarina, which prevents... it has beautiful offensive synergy with Kyogre, because what are the 2 things that Water Spout can't hit? It's grass types and it's water types. And Serena has Terra Ice Triple Axle and Stab Power Whip, and a wide lens to make sure those hit. So really good synergy there. It has Queenly Majesty, so you can't get Grassy Glided or Thunderclapped, which, again, really nice synergy. And then Helping Hand to boost that Terra Water, Fast Water Spout even more. So really, really cool synergy there. It's like a classic combo.
Yeah.
And then the other two, like Focus Sash Tornadus with Rain Dance and Assault Vest Rillaboom. Terra Ground is kind of cute to deal with Miraidon and boost up your high horsepower, which I think is pretty cool. But then the two really neat additions to this are a Safety Goggles Archaludon with Stalwart. Yeah. Very cool because Follow Me is all over the meta now. Smeargle is huge. So that Archaludon just does not care about your Smeargle. It does not get Spored. It does not get Follow Me'd. It has Terra Ghost, so it doesn't even get Fake Outed if you don't want it to. Pretty neat with Steel Beam also, which is kind of crazy. And then Electabuzz. So Electabuzz came to prominence. The Tub Takes guys, Alex Underhill and Audie, doing really well with it on a Calyrex Ice team. So you have Eviolite to make it bulky, Follow Me, which is great tech on there, and Vital Spirit is the ability, so it's immune to sleep. So Sleep Powder, Sing, whatever, you can redirect away those things and then have them do nothing. Thunder is neat synergy with the Kyogre Rain, and then Faint to make it so you cannot protect a Water Spout.
Yeah.
So sorry, I just blabbed on for a long time there. I don't know if you have any thoughts on this. It seems like a U team.
It also has Tornadus, which is cool, which I think is the only Pokemon I didn't mention.
Oh yeah, I mean that's the Tornogre is the most standard thing ever.
It is. It's a really cool team. I saw the 6 and I was like, ooh, I want more of this, right? I think. I mean, you hit all the key things, right? Serena.
I hit all of everything, so it was hard to miss it.
Except Kyogre. I mean, Torn. No, yeah, it is a bog standard core of Tornogre. But then and even like the I don't know, it's cool, man. Yeah. It's a really neat team. I kind of want to go.
Is very neat on that Electabuzz because like the one thing that really, like, when I was doing this really early meta, I did not think at all about Faint, right? Or did not think at all about Electabuzz of all mons.
Sure.
At early format. And
have you played with this? You said you did something with this Electabuzz?
I didn't do anything with Electabuzz. People have done stuff with Electabuzz. Audie and Underhill were the ones who discovered it effectively.
Sure.
In this format, but
I just don't know its stats. I presume
they're mid, but Eviolite makes it very bulky. Because I remember at one time Electabuzz was a fully evolved Pokemon. And now you give it Eviolite, and it's Dusclops, right?
Yeah.
That is a Dusclops with Follow Me.
it is a neat Follow Me mon there.
But Faint is huge here, breaking Wide Guard, because you are choiced into a spread move. You can just be locked into a spread move in front of a mon with Wide Guard and then lose unless you bring out Electabuzz, and then the end, right? Like, it's pretty great.
Yeah, that is really cool tech. Like,
I'd love to hear about y'all sets. I haven't gotten. You gotta send me those VODs and I'll do that.
I have to finish editing them. I have like 3 different videos.
If you send me the raw VODs, I'm happy to commentate them too.
Yes, we will.
Oh, you play them. You commentate live.
I commentate live.
Okay. I forgot about that.
Yeah. But yeah, I have 3 videos of varying states of done in my DaVinci editor. So it's great. I have free time. But yeah, seeing teams like this that are just so well built, right? Like, tech everywhere. The synergy is very obvious. That is such a cool skill in that buildcraft that when you can look at this and admire that skill, it is a thing of beauty. And I think it is so cool. And like, obviously it did really well. It got second place in this 300-ish person tournament. So I don't know. I like props, I guess. I don't know where I'm going with this. I think it's really cool.
I think that the one matchup that they didn't really have an answer for, in my opinion, and it became very obvious in the finals, was Trick Room. Look at this team. What do you think it does if Terra Water Helping Hand Water Spout does not kill the thing that is trying to set Trick Room? What do you think happens to this team?
It
done gone die is what happens, and that is exactly what happened watching Fede's stream. Fede won game 1, and then game 2, Marlo actually managed to take it with a double crit Water Spout on the first turn. And then the third game, Fede is just like, that's not going to happen again, and it didn't, and he just clicked Trick Room. His Calyrex Ice survived because it's Timid Ogre without a boosting item.
Yeah.
and he just attacked from that point and just won. And Kyogre can't protect, and Sarina isn't doing anything. Like,
yeah.
so
Good
when I
point.
ran this, when I ran Ogresar, I wasn't doing Scarf at this point, but my plan into it was to put Taunt on the Sarina. And you
Right.
don't go all in on damage on your Kyogre. You Terra Ice the Sarina so that it resists Glacial Lance, and it can taunt Amoonguss, it can taunt Calyrex Ice and stop Trick Room and all that. But they didn't fit in Taunt on here. I think it's just another case of like, this is a bad matchup for me. I think Cali Ice is way too good to ignore like that, but they got to second in this tournament, so maybe they know better than me.
Yeah, I mean that's a fair point. Or just got lucky, right? Like same thing.
Yeah, might have just had good matchup luck. Yeah,
dodge them in Swiss.
Yeah, but I do love to see. I think Sar Kyogre is such, like, they are so perfect for each other. And you put that Terra Ice on Sar, and it can Oko Raging Bolt with Triple Axle, which is absolutely wild. Like, you don't.
Wow. Yeah.
Even super effective attacks, you usually don't see that coming, but you do. So
my dogs are laying on each side of my chair. I normally don't have them in while I'm recording. They are just whining and sad, and I don't know why. So if you hear sad dog noises, that's why. Yeah, that is really neat. Good job dodging those until the end, I guess.
Yeah. Otherwise, tons of Miraidon in this tournament.
Yeah, next 3 teams are Miraidon.
Yeah, the next 3 are Miraidon. I do think it's cool how Miraidon is starting to see different archetypes pop up around it. We're kind of beyond the point of Rajan clones now.
That first one though is a pretty standard, right?
It's somewhat right. So we haven't seen much Water Urshifu on Miraidon teams. And the other big trend that's coming up is they're no longer generally Terra Electric. All 3 of the next ones, I believe. Let me check to make sure before I say this. Yes, all 3 of them are Terra Fairy with Dazzling Gleam instead of Terra Electric with Discharge. And as cute as the Terra Electric Discharge next to a ground type is, it was kind of, if people see it coming, if people know to play around it, it's pretty obvious. It's pretty inflexible. Inflicting para on your own teammate and doing that much damage to your own teammate if you can't get the Terra ground position is rough. So, yeah, I think I like that a lot. It means that all the cute little Terra Fairy Electric Lightning Rod Mons or Fluttermane with Terra ground, that kind of stuff doesn't hard wall you restricted anymore. You have an option to as it turns out, Terra Fairy Dazzling Gleam with Hadron Engine powering it is still going to do a ton of damage.
Still going to hurt, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a good option to have on there. And it helps with Iron Hands has really come up big in the meta recently, even on non-Miraidon teams. So being able to resist because you give them a boosted Drain Punch with the terrain, and that really, really hurts Miraidon. So being able to resist that and then hit them for super effective is huge.
I see. Oh, yeah, fair point.
Yeah. But the cool thing that the one that I really, so Keisuke and Kosukide, the 2 Japanese players, had relatively similar teams, right? One of the Ko's was a Dark Urshifu and Keisuke's was a Water, but they both had a Miraidon, a Tailwind Setter, a Fire type, an Urshifu, a Farigiraf, and an Iron Hands, right? Relatively similar. But what Frederick Hoedge, they got top 4 at Worlds last year, I think. Going Screens Miraidon, I think, is a really cool adaptation. You don't really think of Miraidon as a mon that would benefit from screens, but as someone who played with T-Wave Grimmsnarl myself last tournament, it's really good. And even if it isn't something as bulky as Kyogre, Miraidon actually has pretty respectable bulk. And if you have screens in front of it, it's just going to get off more attacks. And AV Iron Hands with screens to buff its defenses even more and electric terrain to buff its power, that thing's going to hit.
Yeah, and I mean, what is your point of saying you don't think Miraidon is a Pokemon that benefits from screens? Is that because you think Miraidon seems frail?
As restricted mons go, it's pretty frail, right? All restricted mons have a decent amount of bulk to them. You think of Cali Shadow as the frail one, but it can also take a hit, right?
Yeah. I guess I just feel like they're what Pokemon wouldn't benefit from screens.
What I mean by that is not as much as any other. A Sashmon, for example, really wouldn't benefit from screens, right? Like, what's the point of a Chen Power behind screens? It's just going to take 2 hits and die anyway, right? But the real thing for me is that a Mon that really benefits from screens is one that's already bulky, because you're talking about a multiplicative effect, right?
Sure. That does make sense.
Yeah. The bigger your bulk, the bigger the benefit from the screens.
Right. I'm also interested. Going down a couple spaces to Robbie Sky.
Yes, Robbie's been all over best of 3 ladder recently, and so seeing that he actually and like really high up it too. I back when I was doing well, I was playing him, and now I'm not doing as well anymore. But he was near the top of it at one point. So yeah, it's cool to see that this is actually this is working so well for him. Yeah, Covert Cloak Venusaur with Koraidon is actually a massive pain to deal with. A lot of teams have just straight up no answer to this, especially if you're going to respect the sleep powder, right? Like 75% of the time, it works every time.
Yeah, it is cool to see. I mean, it's the only Koraidon in top 16 of this list.
Yeah,
and it is the next restricted here is Tally Ice with only 3, so I guess it's not that impressive when I say it out loud. But like, I don't know. That is probably the most different team we see here.
Yeah, I'd say so too. If you go down, Daiki Sudo is playing.
That's also
that is exactly Underhill and Audie's team. That's like a min speed Smeargle on there. So the idea is it decorates after the Trick Room goes up, and then you just start blasting with +2, then +4. Cali Ice plus Grimnay boosts. It gets pretty crazy, but they have to let you do it.
And snowballs pretty fast.
But you can do all kinds of crazy mind games with Smeargle. Yeah, so they played well with it. Actually, I think the most unique team on here, after second place maybe, would be Oppo with the Suicune on there. I think that's pretty neat.
Oh, okay. I didn't see Suicune.
Terra, Normal, and Snarl. So that is just a very just flat out I hate you, Cali Shadow kind of move right there, right? Suicune's already incredibly specially bulky, so you're forcing it to use it's not preferred move, and you're snarling it, and you're saying Tailwind. Covert Cloak Miraidon's also very cool tech. Something that my friend Koski was using back in Canada. So you still get to go Terra Electric for the extra damage, but not being able to be faked out on Miraidon is pretty neat. Yeah, I
mean back to the discussion 3 minutes ago, if it's a frailer Mon, it's nice to be able to get off every attack you can.
Exactly.
I'm not surprised, but I don't think I realized that Suicune is one of the 4 Pokemon that get Scald this generation.
Yeah,
so that's also great.
It's good they let it keep it, because it's not doing much else. It's always been that bulky support.
Yeah.
If you go down a little further, you can see some cute stuff, like beyond top 16. So people who made it to Day 2 Swiss but not cut. There was an Earthworm in 21st, which I thought was pretty cute. You put that next to Ursaluna, Hisui, and then you can Earthquake yourself. I like that. Iron Bundle next to Miraidon, also getting some play is neat. I think that was a combo that everybody was expecting to be big, and it just never took off. So.
Yeah, I was gonna say that we haven't seen that a whole lot.
Yeah, and it's Bolt Beam too, right? Which I think is really great. But unfortunately, I don't know. Like, just because you have Electric plus Ice coverage, which is it's called Bolt Beam because it's just perfect. Like Ice Beam and Thunderbolt, even back to Gen 1, was perfect coverage, right? You hit pretty much everything for neutral at least, and a ton of stuff for super effective between those two. It's why Porygon 2 often runs those two moves together. But Iron Bundle just doesn't do enough damage. It's just not powerful enough. It had a huge surge of usage next to Chi-Yu before Restricteds came out, especially before DLC stuff came out. But yeah. But it's still solid. You still get that speed control and for free without using your item. So it's something.
Mm-hmm. Oliver Archerman in 26th place looks like a very us team. Probably you more than me.
Oh yeah, I was actually looking at that. Yeah,
that's pretty good.
And any Dragonite usage, I'm happy about, and it's getting some niche fit in here, but it's clearly like a B tier Mon in this format. It doesn't quite.
Oh, sorry, 30.
That's just some 2-2.
It is
Dondozo, Chi-Yu, Fluttermane, and then I guess they subbed in Miraidon for Chen Pao, right?
Yep. Yeah, because Miraidon and Dragonite have perfect synergy together.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's fine. But yeah, overall, a very, very cool tournament. I'm glad to see people are still willing to show off some cool sauce with even with Worlds coming up. Like I'm sure everybody will be, like optimizing their stuff even further as time goes on. Like what they ran here is not going to be their final version that they end up bringing to Hawaii.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah, we have like what 5-6 weeks till Hawaii.
Exactly.
2, 3, 4, 5 weeks. 5 weeks till Hawaii. Which is just wild. That like I said, Worlds is creeping up on us.
Yeah, I'm very excited to watch it.
Is there any other prep tour like this that we know of? Like, did Victory Road announce another one?
I don't know that they have. We might get one more. There are huge tours almost every week. I think we can probably, if there's another big one, we can pull it up. It doesn't need to be Victory Road to huge,
sure.
Right?
Correct.
But yeah, do you want to talk about your Inky stuff, Inky?
Okay, so we are in week 5. I finished my week 4 match against Little Root Lessons' very own Carl. Boy, I hope that's right.
It's Carl or Carter. I don't know.
I know that's the problem. Like, hey, y'all, awesome. Have different names. It's Carl. Right. Oh my gosh.
Well,
Discord, help me.
You mentioned it.
Yes, Carl. So his team was awesome. The theme for that one for this past week was no moves over 60 BP, which is really cool because there are a bunch of moves that are like 20 or 50 BP that stack, like Rage Fist or Stored Power, which is what he used to just smack me to the ground. The obvious play was like using Technician Mons, which I had a couple of on my team. Which was fun, but just the better positioning won him by far, as well as the better team building, I'd say. But at the end of that video, the end of that recording, which will eventually become a video on the channel, hopefully, if I can just get my crew team together and do things. I was just talking, like I went on like a 90-second rant about team building and how the Malamar games, the Inky games are all about team building. And I am not a good team builder. Like, not only
I think you got to give it a little more than a day. We were all trying talking to you like the day of your game, right?
That's a part of it, and that's a very legitimate, good feedback. It's noted. And that's why I don't know. I do need to sit down today or tomorrow and actually try for this week to get have more time to it. But like even still, like I just like the things that people think of and the synergies that people just can pull out of these mons. That's not a skill that I have, just flat out. And like it's I've tried to team build, but I have not done a good enough job to try to learn to team build.
So when I did Malamar games, it was a lot easier in my opinion because not as many Pokemon were legal. This Series 1++ rule set is very cute. So for anybody who doesn't know, these games use a rule set that is basically like what would happen if all of the mons from DLC and home.
I just
my
your
cats
cat
are fighting in the background. Yeah, that'll be
fight.
Fun.
Okay.
Oh yeah. They might rip something down off their tables too. We'll see.
That's what I thought. It ran into something. Anyway.
But minus legendaries and paradox mons, right?
Yeah,
which is very cool. I love that. That's a great idea for a format, except for the fact that Rillaboom and Incineroar reign supreme. But neither here nor there.
Yes.
The problem is that there's no way to easily look at every mon that you can use that isn't a format. Right? Like
what do you mean?
Like I can for our stuff it was always in Series A or Series B or Series C, right?
Right.
And so I could just open up Showdown and filter by any move I wanted to.
Yes, correct.
Filter by any stat I wanted to. Filter by any type I wanted to. It was if it was something cute like the colors, then I'd have to look at Bulbapedia for that. But like it was very easy for me to see all my options and then decide, okay, this is what I want for this XYZ synergy. You kind of have to just pull it out of thin air.
There's many more choices, and it's harder to find.
So
yes,
what I'd recommend doing for this kind of thing is like if you don't have that easy access like on Showdown, would be to find a way to compile your options and like be able to look at them all together, right? Because we're just kind of spitballing like, oh, this would be cool. but
Yeah.
we aren't. But when we help you, sorry, I'm not doing all that work.
Yeah, they have something that they might actually have that put together.
Yeah. Like when you had Mons outside of the top 100, where are you getting that from, right? Like you know what you can't use, you don't know what you could use. Like
that was probably the worst of them all. I never mind. Yeah, so they have some lists on their information Google Docs, but it's not it is.
Yeah, so they're really cool themes. If you want to share us those lists, we can help you team build. But yeah, you're right. It's very hard to just like, I didn't even think about Rage Fist as an option. Annihilate is probably like the best possible mon to use there. Like
it truly was. It's so good.
Screens Annihilate would be amazing.
I cannot fathom. Just again, there's such good options for this, and it was. Yeah. So anyway, yeah, it's not going well. I have every match that I've played, I've lost. My only win is when my opponent had to drop. So I don't know. It's also like man, what's the word I'm looking for? Because not care is on the tip of my tongue. I don't know. I'm just having fun with it more than anything. Yeah. Like I'm not taking
as
it
long
at
as
all
you are having
serious.
fun. That's the important bit. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's more of an exercise for me personally of, hey, I'm doing something that I'm going to make into a video. If I could, again, just finish making it into a video would be a great step for me, which is fun. So, I don't know. I mean, I'm looking at one of the themes is DS, Game Boy, and Switch only, and that is the most exciting.
That very cool theme. Very difficult to. We had that too. I also had an issue. I was like, how am I supposed to like look at all my options for this, right? Like,
yeah. So anyway, we'll see. I threw my info, or I threw their info thing into our Malamar chat. I do believe that obviously Sheldon's not here. If you all got 38 minutes into the video or the podcast and didn't realize that, he's not here because life's busy. So I think he had to drop. So he might have 2 or maybe 3 videos, but I need to check up with him and be like, hey, have you done any more than I have on making videos? But yeah, it's like I said, it's fun. It's different, right? For sure. It's definitely a brain teaser to try and build around these. But then I think it's 100% going to show me how bad I am at team building.
As ever, it's how much you put into it, right?
Yeah, I mean that's very true as well. And I did go into this thinking I had more time than I do, and that's always what I do for everything of my hobbies.
Totally fair. Well, speaking of time, did you have any time to play other video games, or is that
I have a little bit. So Beck and I have been playing this game that my best friend from like elementary, middle, and high school. Yeah. So him and his wife have been playing, and they suggested us to play. It's called Ship of Fools. It is a roguelite game where you are it's up to 2 players. You are 2 like shipmates on a small ship, which is kind of like the level that you play on.
This is remarkably indie. Okay, yeah, go for it.
It is very indie. It's very indie. It's very cute though. And you go through a map, in the same way as like other roguelites, like Call to the Lamb or Slay the Spire, right? Where you have to like kind of choose your path. A very very open map for that. And then the ship moves, and then things attack the ship, right? So there's like creatures, like birds are coming at you, or like squid things are coming at you, and it's all creatures on. You have 2 cannons you can position on 4 different spots on the ship, and then you have like different types of ammunition you can unlock, different like these artifacts that give boost to the ship as a whole. Your character can pick up trinkets, like all these different things that happen. And then there's like a shop you can go to as in classic roguelike fashion, and like other different tiles that are on the map, right? And the whole thing is you go through like 3 different areas, and then the final boss is like a culmination.
Okay, this is one of those questions that it's one of those like it's been too long, and now I feel dumb asking. What is the definition of roguelite?
Okay, so the game Rogue, right? Originally, it was a video game that like you start, you go into it. It's a randomized thing, and there's no real progression, right? So you just try and get better skillfully, right? You get mechanical skills, button press better to get through the game, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now Rogue, the like, if you want to be super pedantic, my goodness, super pedantic about it, rogue-like are games that are just like that. There's no overall progression.
Yeah, so I got that part. Like we're talking Metroidvania here on a different game. I never played Rogue, but fair enough. But Rogue Lite is now a whole different
Rogue Lite
LITE instead of LIKE.
Yes, that gives you some overarching progression. So you get better. You have better numbers going into a run, right? So Hades, Dead Cells are like two prevalent roguelite games that have come out in the past recently.
And these are always like top-down isometric games.
No. Dead Cells is a 2D platformer.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think the isometric is necessarily a part of Rogue. I don't know what Rogue was. So yeah, I think it's the style of progression and how you go through the game, right? It's how it's a randomized progression through the levels. And then you do or do not have overarching progression where you get incrementally better each run.
Gotcha.
Right? At least that's how I go into it. And if you disagree with me, then leave a comment as to why. But yeah, so we've beaten the boss of Ship of Fools only once. Gotten to it like 3 or 4 times. Sometimes we'll do a run and we're like, we just want to get, tentacles is the like currency for progression. So we want to get a bunch of tentacles, so just go do that, and then oh no, we lost, right? But it's very fun. It's very cute. It's a very, very fun game to play couch co-op. The only problem is we got it on Switch, and it is the only game that I've played that has hard crashed my Switch several times, which is depressing.
The Switch is the fact that it can run it at all is probably impressive at this point. Like
it's not like it. I mean, I think it's hard to say that when games like Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom exist, right?
Right. Well, I guess it's like
first party.
It's some Unity thing, like that's supposed to run everything. So
correct, that is the problem. So like when there's a bunch of enemies and you're shooting a bunch of stuff out of cannons at once, like there's a lot of moving parts on the screen, it chugs and loses frames, which also is a level of difficulty that's super annoying. That shouldn't be there. And we're like, why didn't we get this on the PlayStation or the Xbox or even Steam Deck? Like, we could have done something better to ourselves. But that's a whole different story. So yeah, I would suggest getting it, just not on the Switch. That's my endorsement. But yeah, that's the main thing. The other thing that happened recently was the Steam sale. So if you had any inkling to get things on Steam for cheap, you missed your chance. If you didn't already. I used that to trim down my wish list, both by removing things and buying things. So,
but you haven't played any of them.
Not yet.
As is tradition.
I've had very little time, and quite frankly, there are like a couple of other indie games that are coming out very soon. I'm like, ooh, I want to get this, and then continue to not play things that I bought on this sale. So that's just me. I did have some friends of mine were like, I think the most expensive game I bought on Steam sale was Enshrouded, which is another tree puncher game with like I think this is the one that like touted having like Souls-esque combat. It's like a combat focused game with base building and crafting and tree punching, which I'm very excited.
Sounds like Pal World because it also has dodge rolls. So
yeah, okay, yeah, but it has guns.
Souls games have ranged combat. Elden Ring has magic.
Elden Ring has magic. Do other Souls games have?
I don't know. I'll
I mean, Bloodborne, I'm pretty sure has gunplay in it, but that's stuck on the PlayStation 4. But yes, fair enough. But we have not played that yet. But that is on my list of things to do, which I'm pretty excited about. So shout out, because I know at least one of you will listen to this episode of the people who wanted me to play this game. But yeah, I think that's it.
An episode, yeah.
Yeah, I think I do have one little itty bit of housekeeping. There very well might not be an episode next week because San Diego Comic-Con is next week, so I'll be out of town.
Nice. I forgot.
On Wednesday. So maybe we can get together and record early, but we'll see about that.
I don't know what there is to talk about. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah, at this point, it's we're struggling. On that note, honestly, y'all, if you've made it this far, 45 minutes into this episode, So y'all are the real MVPs. We appreciate you more than you know. If you have any kind of like topics you'd like us to talk about, let us know, right? Like we're super open to some ideas. We have a little thought channel in our Discord that just for the three of us, and we've floated some ideas and we've committed to none of them. So if you have anything you'd like us to talk about, we're super open to ideas as we get into like again this dry period between now and Worlds. Which also I realized I will be out of country for Worlds, so I'm gonna completely miss it. I'm very sad. That's not a big deal. I will be cruising around the Grecian Isles,
Nice.
so maybe I might win still. I just looked at my calendar and I was like, oh no. But yeah, I think that's kind of it. We'll see how the next few weeks go. Hopefully we can get some videos out on the YouTube channel if you aren't already watching us there. Of me just eating it for the Inky games, and Sheldon doing better than me, I think, because he actually has some scores before he dropped. But yeah, any other final thoughts, Rowan, before we do the closing out dance that we always do? You guys did so beautifully last episode.
We stuttered a bit. I don't know. That was a rough intro.
It was so funny. Yeah, intro and outro is so funny to listen to because I think Sheldon said, I don't have Harrison's script in front of me. I don't have a script. I have this memorized. Hello. This is editing Harrison. You'll realize that the video suddenly stopped. Riverside, which is what we use to record, messed up specifically my recording, which is very fun. So I had to step in here the next evening and do a quick outro. It's nothing that you all haven't heard before. It's a normal outro where we say our Twitter handles, Ro_Ixon and Rowan W Hall, and say that everything else you could possibly need for us is in the link tree down below. That being said, I'm very perturbed that I had to go ahead and do this. So now it's a really weird change in pace. And it really just messed up the whole end of the episode, you know. But again, if you made it this far, we really appreciate you and thank you. And everything that we said that you heard 4 or 5 minutes ago is definitely holds true. So anyway, yeah, all the stuff down below. And as always, until next time, press start and game on. Bye.